Postbox, a channel dedicated to sharing God's love revealed throughout all 66 books of Scripture. Today, we begin a brand new reflection series on the Pauline epistle, the book of Philippians.
It's a great one to dive into.
It really is. Now, for our mission today, we want to get a really solid understanding of the unique relationship between Paul and the Philippian church.
It was a special one.
It was. But maybe more importantly, we need to grasp what he was actually praying for. He had these specific priorities, focusing on this connection between love and what you might call practical wisdom or discernment.
Exactly. And when you read the opening of this letter, the tone is just.
Yeah.
It's so affectionate. The sources point out that this community brought Paul great comfort and joy.
You can feel it in the writing.
You really can. He says joy just welled up every time he prayed for them. So we need to figure out, what made this group so special to him? And what did he see as the single most crucial element for their future?
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really get the intensity of that joy, you have to go back to the beginning. The founding of this church was, well, it was incredibly dramatic.
Oh, it was not a standard church plant.
Yeah.
Not by a long shot.
No.
It was basically a chain of these disruptive, almost cinematic events. It starts with Paul getting a vision that tells him to go to Macedonia, a complete course correction.
Which right away tells you something, doesn't it? That this whole thing was divinely guided, but it was not going to be smooth.
Anything but.
Yeah.
And then you look at who was there at the start, the key players.
Right. It kicks off with him looking for a place to pray, and he finds Lydia.
Yeah, Lydia, a merchant of purple cloth. So a successful businesswoman, probably the head of her own household. Her conversion is sort of the first foundation stone.
And that's a really crucial detail. The sources make a big deal of her status because she brings a certain economic stability that a lot of these early communities just didn't have.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's the sheer diversity of the group that's so striking.
Because right after meeting this successful businesswoman, the story just takes a complete nosedive into persecution. Paul and his team are preaching, they get thrown in prison, and then you get the big scene.
The earthquake. The one that shakes the jail to its foundations.
And in that moment of pure chaos, the church gets its next core member.
The Roman jailer. Him and his entire household. So suddenly you have this fellowship made up of a high-status merchant, a Roman law enforcement officer, and probably his slaves and dependents.
People who would never, ever have shared a meal together otherwise.
Exactly. And that mix is what's so extraordinary. This group, with all these social fractures, somehow held together and became known for this radical partnership.
Yet it wasn't just a philosophical thing, was it? It was intensely practical.
Deeply practical. They kept partnering with Paul for the gospel,
Yeah.
sending him offerings, praying for him.
And here's the detail that the sources really highlight. They did this despite being poor themselves.
That's the key. This wasn't a wealthy church. Their partnership was sacrificial, and it was sustained. That's why Paul calls them this precious fellowship.
It means their commitment was tested. Not just by, angry mobs, but by their own empty pockets. And they passed.
They did. And that willingness to give is the immediate backdrop for Paul's incredible joy.
But this is where things pivot, and I find this part fascinating. He's so grateful for their material support, right? But when he starts to pray for them, for their future, he doesn't ask God for more money for them.
No.
Or for protection from persecution, or for their lives to get easier.
And that's the strategic puzzle, isn't it? A practical leader, knowing their situation, would pray for safety first, for security.
Yeah.
But Paul he bypasses all of that, all the urgent external stuff.
Wait, why do that? If they're poor and they're being persecuted, wouldn't a good leader pray for security first? Why jump straight to something internal like love?
Because Paul knew that if the internal structure is sound, the community can handle anything on the outside.
Oh.
Think about it. If they got wealthy but lost their love for each other, the money would just make their problems worse. He saw that spiritual health was the prerequisite for operational resilience.
That makes so much sense. He's choosing structural stability over situational comfort. So that brings us to the real heart of this deep dive then. Philippians 1, verses 9 to 11 is his blueprint.
It's absolutely his blueprint. He prays that your love will overflow more and more, and that love will keep on growing in knowledge and understanding.
That's the primary substance. He's not praying for them to do better, but to be better, to mature.
Exactly. And the prayer has a structure. It's like a chain reaction.
Okay, so the input is overflowing love, but it's not just love. It's love plus knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
So what's the output? Why does he pray for that specifically?
The output is their character and their actions. He prays that because their love is growing, they'll be able to discern what is best.
To make better choices?
Superior ethical choices, yes.
Yes.
And to remain pure and blameless for the day of Christ. It's a clear pathway. Love guides wisdom.
And then the ultimate goal is to be filled with the fruit of righteousness, to the glory and praise of God. So love isn't just a nice feeling, it's the engine for everything else.
What's fascinating here is how he prioritizes it.
Aye.
Love is first. The sources suggest that for Paul, expanding the unseen love inside the community was a more fundamental goal than expanding the visible ministry.
Wow.
More important than the number of converts or buildings or, charitable works.
That is a massive takeaway for any group, really. We're all programmed to chase the visible results, the KPIs, the measurable outcomes. Paul's basically saying, hold on, pump the brakes.
Yes.
Focus on the unseen stuff first, the love that holds you all together.
Precisely. Because he knew that the wisdom to discern what's best, to make those hard calls under pressure, that flows directly from an abundance of love. If there's conflict and selfishness, the decision-making process is already corrupted from the start.
So love is like a filter, a moral filtering system. It prepares them to be, as the text says, truthful and clean vessels. It's the prerequisite that leads to real discernment.
Yes. And you see this thread all through his writing. It's a core principle for him. He consistently says that even the most impressive-looking faith is, well, it's nothing without love.
Right, like his letter to the Corinthians.
Exactly. In 1 Corinthians, he says you can have amazing gifts, perfect knowledge, you can give away everything you own. But if you don't have that agape love, it profits nothing.
We should probably clarify a gap for you listening. We aren't talking about affection or romance here.
Not at all. It's a principled, intentional, selfless love. It seeks the highest good for the other person, even at a cost to yourself. It's the ultimate social glue.
And Paul saw that the Philippians already had this. They showed it with their money, even when they didn't have much.
They did. And so now he prays for that love to mature. To grow in practical application, that's the knowledge. And in ethical context, that's the understanding.
So the two things aren't separate. It's not love or wisdom. It's love that grows into wisdom.
That's it. You can love someone deeply, but if you don't have the knowledge of how to act in a complex situation, you can still do harm. Paul is praying for the fusion of heart and mind.
And he says, overflow more and more. It implies it's never a static thing. A healthy community has to keep growing that internal capacity for selfless care.
It's a vision of perpetual maturity.
So what does this all mean for us today? This isn't just some historical document. It feels like a model for, organizational health, for leadership.
It absolutely is. It forces you to look at how you measure success. If you're leading a team, Paul's logic says your ability to choose the best path, your discernment, comes directly from the love and trust you've built.
So if your team is full of infighting and selfishness,
Then your decision-making will be flawed. It doesn't matter how smart everyone is. The foundation is cracked.
that really brings up a personal challenge. We all want to be better decision makers. We try to be ethical leaders. But Paul is saying, step back and first look at the channel itself.
Look at the vessel.
Right. We want to be that clean channel for wisdom to flow through. But so often we feel like it's a dirty and wretched heart, driven by our own junk.
And that tension is the human condition Paul is addressing. But the hope is in the process. He doesn't just pray that they try harder to love. He prays that this divine love will overflow in them. It's a God-initiated process.
So the pressure shifts a little. We can stop worrying so much about being wise enough on our own and instead focus on just letting that capacity for selfless love expand. The wisdom will follow.
It's a complete reversal of how we usually prioritize things. The most important prayer, learning from Paul here, is to just ask that this unconditional agape love, with all its knowledge and understanding, will more and more abound within me.
That feels like the foundational work.
It is the foundational work for any lasting effort.
So to recap our deep dive, the Philippians were this precious fellowship, forged in these improbable conversions and held together by a generosity that came from poverty. And Paul's deepest prayer for them wasn't for success or safety.
No, it was for the overflowing maturity of their love, because that love is the indispensable foundation for all genuine wisdom, for all ethical discernment, and at the end of the day, for all righteous action.
So that leaves us with a final thought for you to take away.
Right. If we actually adopted Paul's priority, how would that change our own goals? If you truly prioritize the expansion of unseen love things like mutual respect, trust, and selflessness over the expansion of visible results, How would that change how you approach your work, your family, or your community tomorrow?
Your comments, subscriptions, and likes greatly help spread the love of God to the whole world. Please share this podcast generously with your loved ones and those around you.
We look forward to joining you again next time with even better content. Thank you and have a blessed day.